Navigating the legal world can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. The Indiana Lawyer Podcast is here to help you understand the laws impacting your life, work, and community. Whether you're a legal professional, a business owner, or someone who wants to know how Indiana law shapes the world around you, this podcast is for you. Hosted by Alexa Shrake, a passionate legal reporter, we're here to bring you clarity and insights like no one else can. This podcast is brought to you by Taft, today's modern law firm.
It is Women's History Month, and I sat down with Indiana Court of Appeals Judge Elaine Brown to talk about how she got into a career in law. Initially, she was an art teacher. So listen to hear about Elaine's early years as a judge in Southern Indiana. But before we get into it, let's hear from our sponsor, Taft.
Taft, today's modern law firm. At Taft, we cultivate a highly respectful, transparent workplace that fosters creativity, teamwork, inclusion, and diversity. We couple our culture with a client-first approach, rewarding lawyers who understand their clients' goals and work to deliver success. Taft, the modern law firm. To learn more, visit taftlaw.com.
Welcome to the Indiana Lawyer Podcast. I'm your host, Alexa Shrake. I'm here with Indiana Court of Appeals Judge Elaine Brown. Elaine was appointed to the appellate court in 2008 by Governor Mitch Daniels. It is Women's History Month, so we are going to dive into what it's like being a woman in law. So to start, Elaine, I had read that you were a teacher before going to law school. What did you teach?
I taught art. I taught art to grades K through 12 in the Greater Jasper school system. I did that for 3 years. So I traveled from it's still Ireland Elementary to Ireland Junior High to Jasper High School every day, dealing with a wide age range every single day. My third year teaching, I went from 10th Street Elementary School in Jasper to Jasper High School. But after 3 years, I knew that I did not want to devote the rest of my life to that particular career. And so for really the first time, I opened my eyes to what else might be out there, what opportunities might exist. And because, when I graduated high school, if women went to college at all, it was for nursing or teaching. So I considered the law in large part because I did not have to go back to school and pick up undergraduate courses because law schools like a diverse set of students. And so an art teacher was not a drawback being an art teacher. And so I took the LSAT and got into law school, and, the rest is history. I finished in 2.5 years because I went summers. And that's really the way it worked out. I think subconsciously I was fulfilling a dream of my dad's because he always wanted to be a lawyer, but he was in the military and got out and could have taken advantage of the GI Bill, but didn't, married my mom instead and started having kids. And so, he felt like that opportunity was foreclosed. But I think subconsciously I was fulfilling a dream of his. So there's that aspect to it.
Did you have an interest in law a little bit before that?
I just saw it as a very practical degree. I saw it, I really wanted to understand civil rights. I wanted to understand my rights. I wanted to understand contracts, because we all use the law in everyday living, and I wanted to understand it. So, there was certainly that practical push towards the law. Yeah.
Yeah. What was your first job out of law school?
I went to work with a 3-person firm in Jasper, and we were a county seat practice, so we took basically anything that walked in the door. One of the lawyers did a lot of accounting type work and estate planning, that sort of thing. One did a lot of criminal law and family law. And they were both established. So I was the new associate. And so, you want to get established and get your name out there. So you take what you get. But I did mostly litigation. Criminal family law, I did real estate work, some wills and estates, but a little sprinkling of everything.
Mhm. How have you seen the area of law change for women since you started?
Yeah, I think there's much less gender bias now. I faced it, everybody that was in my generation faced it to a greater or lesser degree. It was a real uphill battle because my first job, I told you I practiced law with a small firm in Jasper. So I did that for 5 years. And then I was approached by the party chairman of my political party about running for judge. And, I turned it down several times because I had really not thought that much about being a judge. But um, eventually I said yes, because even if I lost the election, I figured I would get my name out there, my practice would build. And so I thought essentially it would be a win-win. But I did win. But in the course of campaigning, I mean, a female judge at that point in time, at that point in history in conservative Du Bois County was a real um, high bar to reach. And I would hear things like, "Well, how's she gonna be if a man appears in front of her who's beaten his wife? I mean, she won't be fair." That sort of silly stuff. So um, that's changed dramatically. In the past, how many years has it been? Decades. Um, but so I think I don't think that gender bias is nearly the issue it once was. I think women, for instance, on the Court of Appeals, at one point we had a female majority for a short period of time. There were 8 women and 7 men. Now it's 7 women and 8 men. But I think things have really dramatically changed for women,
Mm.
and they've proven themselves and um, distinguished themselves in so many ways. So it's a lot different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What year was it when you first ran for judge?
It was 1986. Yes. Long, long, long time ago. Yeah,
Did you like being on the trial court bench?
very much so. It was a huge honor to have been elected at that age. I guess how old was I when I got elected? Was I 30, 32, I guess. So, yeah, and I really wanted to prove myself. And so I really put my heart and soul into it and started all these programs. And um, yeah, it was a great position. And then I ran without opposition the second time around. So I served 12 years, but then I moved out of the county to support my then husband's career. So I didn't run for a third term. And I practiced law in Evansville for 3.5 years. And then I knew I missed the bench. So I moved back to Jasper and hung up my own shingle for 2.5 years. And then I ran again in, what year was that? 2004, and was elected. Um, and then in 2008, I was tapped for the appellate bench. So that's the trajectory of my career. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. How do you like it on the appellate bench?
I like it a lot. It's been 17 years. I mean, I don't know where those. Was thinking about that the other day. Where in the heck did 17 years go? It seems unreal. But the older one gets, and you're so very young that you can't possibly relate to this, and I couldn't have when I was your age. But time just absolutely snowballs. It's like, not where did the last year go? Where did the last decade go? And yeah, I've enjoyed it a lot. And the collegiality and camaraderie, particularly of the female judges, has been um, really sustaining for me. Um, I guess when I joined the court, I was the 8th woman in the history of our court, to have been appointed. At the time I came on, I guess there were 5 of us. So since then, we've lost a couple, but we've gained a couple. So yeah, now we have 7. At one point, like I said, we had 8. But at this point in time, the collegiality is greater than it's ever been in the past 17 years. We have just such mutual respect for each other. I am unaware of personality disagreements and clashes and conflicts, and we socialize together, and some of the men are included in that too if they choose to be. So it's just really become a fantastic place to work. It's much, much different than the trial court bench, as you can imagine, because on the trial court bench, there's so much people interaction and very little time in the day to yourself. If you're not on the bench, somebody's knocking on your door, question about this, question about that. A lot of public interaction, but the appellate bench is very, very different, and we have the luxury of time. And it is somewhat isolating. It is isolating. It's not somewhat isolating. It is isolating. But it's a heady atmosphere to work in with the law clerks, who are all very smart people and very dedicated and very conscientious. And so it's different, but it's been very, very enjoyable.
Mhm. Yeah. I read that a lot of your work has been on substance abuse issues, and you started Du Bois County's first community correction advisory board.
Mhm.
How have you seen that area change since your efforts?
Yeah, so I also started Du Bois County's drug court, and the Community Corrections Advisory Board oversaw the work release and home detention programs too, which I started. And um, those types of alternatives to incarceration have only increased over the years. And drug courts are a type of problem solving court, and those have just really multiplied as well, because we have mental health courts now, we have veterans courts, drug courts. There may be another type of treatment court, but the popularity of those and the effectiveness of those has really been proven and increased. So, um, yeah, I guess my drug court was one of the earliest ones, but they've really taken off. So all
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Do you see that kind of effect, like on the appellate bench?
Do I see the effect of drug treatment courts on that? Well, if they come to us, it's because they've violated a condition of their drug treatment court or probation. So they may be appealing a sanction that was imposed following the revocation of their probation or, work release or community corrections program. So that's how we see it. Now, is there been a decrease in the number of those that have occurred? I can't really speak to that. Over the last 17 years, I wouldn't, I can't say that there are all that many of them or that they've increased or decreased. But I think recidivism uh, statistics kept by each problem solving court bear out that they are, in fact, effective at preventing recidivism. So,
Mhm. Yeah, that's great. I know a lot of the appellate court judges like to be involved in their community and promote civics education. And so I was kind of curious, what are some of the things that you like to be involved in or have been involved in?
I served 6 years on the Judges and Lawyers Assistance Program Board, JLAP for short. Again, addressing mental health and substance abuse issues among lawyers and judges and law students. Um, I was on the Maurer Law School Advisory Board Alumni Board, pardon me, for 6 years, working with the dean and working with law students on their programs and curriculum. And now I'm on Youth First Advisory Board. I'm starting my second 3-year term on that. And Youth First is a tremendous mental health organization based in southwestern Indiana, and it places licensed social workers directly in 125 schools in 14 counties in southwest Indiana. Um, and, the problems that they see, even in some of the schools that you would think are among the higher socioeconomic group schools, the mental health issues are just everywhere among these kids. And so I really believe in the work that this organization is doing. They're funded largely by donations, large corporate donors, school partners. It put forth some of their budget to paying these social workers' salaries. There are grants, and the Indiana Division of Mental Health. We get money from them as well. But there are measurable success stories from Youth First in terms of suicide preventions that we know about. Kids are performing better in school. They're not dropping out. They become better adjusted. I mean, if we catch these kids while they're young, I won't be seeing them down the line, so it just has a multiplying effect. So, that's just an organization I strongly believe in, and working on my second 3-year term on that. I try to stay involved with the local bar association to the extent time permits. Those, I guess, are the biggest board activities I've been involved in.
Mhm. Yeah. Do you have any sort of advice for young women who are looking for a career in law?
Yeah, I would say go for it if you have an interest. It's a very versatile degree. You can use it in, myriad of career positions. It has very practical applications as well. Um, and I would just say study hard and grades continue to dominate, um, in terms of the best students, get the best jobs. And that is still the case. So, you really got to put forth the effort in law school and do the summer internships, because practical legal experience really builds a good resume. So, and networking and just being, actively involved with your fellow students and various organizations in law school, I think is really important. It's a lot more competitive today than it was when I went to law school. So, I think those points that I just hit are just really, really important, whether you're male or female. But um, that would be my advice.
I was kind of wondering, what are sort of the misconceptions that you sometimes hear people have about the appellate court?
Um, well, I I tell you what, every appellate court throughout the country is a little different, and I went to an executive judicial leadership program sponsored by Harvard Law School summer before last, I guess. And that was very eye opening because it was an international gathering of judges from all over the world. And it was interesting to hear some of their stories. And it was very interesting to learn from other judges in the United States, appellate judges, particularly about the length of time it takes to resolve an appeal. I was talking to one judge from out west, and I can't remember the particular state. And I said, how long is it for you to hand down a case once you receive a fully briefed case? How long does it take you to hand down the opinion? And understand, for us, it's about 6 weeks is on average. She said 7 years. Yeah, and I said, my jaw dropped, and I said, how does the public put up with that? How can that possibly be? And she said, well, it's just the way it's always been, and it's just the way it is. And that was mind blowing for me. Now, I can't tell you stats from across the country. I do know that, we write full opinions, whether it's a memorandum decision, not for publication or for pub, in every single case. And some courts simply do an affirmed or reversed and, no explanation, here you go. So I think we have an excellent reputation as the Indiana Court of Appeals exists today. And, we have the Appeals on Wheels program, which I'm sure you know what that is. But we won the Sandra Day O'Connor Award for civic outreach last year or the year before, which was huge. So I have not personally heard criticism of our court. Of course, you have unhappy litigants who did not win their appeal. So there is always that. You got a winner and a loser every case for the most part. So there may be disgruntled litigants out there, but in the profession itself and people who are in the know and understand who we are and what we do, I think we have a great reputation. I do. I know the energy we put into these drafts. I know the quality of work we put out. I know the quality of all our employees. The law clerks are the best of the best for the most part. And I don't know. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we have a sterling reputation. Okay. So, did that answer your question? I may have strayed from the topic. I'm not sure.
No, you did fine.
Okay.
So a little bit more just about you. What are sort of some of your hobbies, things that you like to do when you're not on the bench?
Yeah, so I've taken up pickleball over the last few years, and I just love to do that. It's very addicting. In the wintertime, I play 2 or 3 times a week, but in the summer, I may play every day because we have outdoor courts, and I love to be outside. So I love nature and getting out and walking. I love to hike in the woods, nature trails. I like to work out in gardening and landscaping and home decorating, reading. I've learned to play bridge over the last couple of years. That's kind of addicting also. And I have 4 grandkids, and I just absolutely adore each and every one of them and love to spend time with them. They are 14, 11, 7, and 5. So, yeah, that's my joy. Yeah, I also love to read, and I'm part of 2 book clubs. One book club among Court of Appeals judges, and then another one in my neighborhood. So, yeah, that's kind of it.
That's excellent.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
That'll do for this week's interview. Elaine, thank you again for joining me today. To our listeners, head over to theindianalawyer.com to read more legal news. Until next time, you can listen to our past episodes wherever you get your podcasts.